Hello, hello, hello. A very warm welcome to all our friends, viewers, stakeholders, fans of Africa Rise with Susan West. It is a beautiful weekend. It's been for me a beautiful Sunday. I do hope that you've had a fantastic weekend as well. Wherever you're joining us from, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Yes, so I'm so excited to talk about what we're talking about today, especially because we're going to be talking to continental Africans who live in the diaspora. And so, as you join this broadcast, do the needful, share, invite your friends, like, follow, and subscribe on all our channels. It's Africa Rise TV on YouTube, Africa Rise TV on Facebook, and Africa_Rise.tv on Instagram. Yes, so our guests are already waiting in the wings. I'll quickly bring them on stream. Yes, let's make welcome the chairman, WSR1.TV, all the way from Switzerland. Washington Stanley, thank you for honoring our invitation. He's frozen. I'm going to quickly go to Starman. Hello,
Yeah,
Starman.
hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
As
Hello.
program.
Okay, there's a bit of a lag. There is a delay from Washington Stanley. Your network is acting up. So if you could, I'm not sure. Okay, quickly introduce yourself,
Okay.
Washington Stanley, if you can. He's frozen. Starman, quickly come. He's frozen.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to take him off stream for a moment and see that he can sort that out, and we carry
Okay.
on with the conversation. Welcome.
Yeah,
How have you been?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yes,
You
I've
know,
missed you. Have you missed me?
oh, definitely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's been
this
a
this
while.
month, throughout the month of October, we're going to be talking about, because it's the acknowledgement or the celebration of Black History Month all around the world. And so basically what I want us to talk about is the significance of the Black History Month, the relevance of it, especially as continental Africans. What does that mean to us or for us?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
can quickly carry on. I'm going to see if um, Washington Stanley's network is better. Oh, he's still frozen.
Uh,
I'll quickly message
where,
him so
where's
he
he,
can.
where's he calling from?
From Switzerland.
Oh,
Washington
right.
Stanley, if you can hear me, if you can go out and come back in, it's probably going to help because you're frozen. All right. Starman, can we see your face and carry on the conversation,
Yeah.
please? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what does it, what's the relevance of the celebration of Black History Month for continental Africans, especially?
The so-called Black History Month, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 month when Black people have to remember their history, and most of the history they have to remember, their history being centered around is the slave trade, something that happened to them, of which they were the victims, but history keeps rewriting it, trying to make it look like no, 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 they victimized themselves. Yeah, you
Starman, can we
see,
see your face
sorry, you see,
fully? When you talk.
you
Thank
see,
you.
this is why Black people are going through the experience they're going through in the world today, because our narrative has been defined for us by others. That's why, it, I mean, when I say our narrative has been defined for us by others, you know, we don't even have a definitive African account of African history. Our history has to be written for us by UNESCO. Come on. And I was going to say something. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, and it's because others write our narratives for us. That's why they can do anything they want to us. We're the most No other groups celebrate. They don't. There's no Chinese History Month. There's no Arab History Month. There's no Indigenous American History Month.
So are you saying the Black History Month is the Chinese were not taken as slaves, yes. And the other people you mentioned were not slaves to, were not slaves. So do you reckon that it's a good thing or a bad thing that we're recognized? At least a month is taken out to celebrate Black
I'm not
people of Black descent, to celebrate their history.
I'm not knocking it, but so what about the remaining 11 months? So Black people forget. Basically, the way I see it is this: our narrative has been written by others, and in a way, to stop us from seeking the true narrative, they've created this thing that's become established now as Black History Month. And in this Black History Month, and in a way, this is how they get. In this Black History Month, they get all the Black people all over the world to focus on the history, their narrative of our narrative that they are projecting back at us. And when they're projecting this narrative of us back at us, then you get all the tools of misdirection.
Right. I'll quickly bring Washington Stanley on. I can see he's back.
Okay.
Yes. So, is it Washington Stanley? Just before you came back, we're just talking about the relevance of celebrating the Black History Month for us continental Africans, and Starman was talking about, other people writing us the narrative for us and telling us what our story is, and taking out a month in the entire year to allow us to reflect on their version of our history, our history as Black people. Do you think though that it is now incumbent on us to make sure that we tell our stories ourselves, especially during this month, to control the narrative, to tell the truth about what our history actually really is, instead of waiting?
Absolutely. For a long time, our history has been written by others, and even here in the Western world where we are, if you look around and check around, you can still see that we are being looked down upon. I think, like Staman said, it's high time we start writing our history by ourselves, start projecting ourselves by ourselves, and not waiting for anybody. Because the problems we have in Africa is being because we are not being ruled by ourselves. We are still being ruled by others, irrespective of what they call democracy or this or other nonsense. But if you go down, deep down, you can find out that you are being managed by external bodies. So I agree with what he was saying.
Right. So welcome, Ellie Briggs. Ellie Briggs is also joining us from Switzerland, Geneva. Yes. So basically, in this month of Black history, this month that they've taken out is to recognize Black people and their history. I just want you and Starman to share your experience as continental Africans living in the West. Maybe I'll let Washington Stanley take it first. Like, what has been your experience as a continental African living in Europe? How would you... Is he frozen again? Yeah, he looks frozen. Starman, please take it. Starman, please carry on.
Okay. Is he back?
Just carry on, and then yes.
Okay, so yeah, now in this month of Black History, where you have the BBC, the wall. In fact, I will not do just to say the walls is too small for BBC. history's
Sorry,
greatest
Starman,
propaganda
please.
machine ever.
Starman, we need to see your face when you talk. Half of your
Okay,
face
sorry.
is
Sorry.
always right. Yes,
How is this?
it's better. Yes.
Okay. See, I was going to say the world's greatest, but no, because any title of just the world's greatest is too small for the BBC. History's greatest propaganda machine ever is the one pumping out Black history for us. And then, you're watching all these Black history shows, and in there they keep repeating the old mantras of control, of brainwashing. Oh, when you hear statements like slavery has always been part of human history, every culture in human history and around the world practice slavery, you just know.
Yeah, Starman, how would you explain or how would you describe your experience as a continental African living in Europe?
As a continental African living in Europe, I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't say I've had the worst experience, because I know fellow Africans who've had between a rock and a hard place experience. All I need to do is think about the Africans in Italy and what they're going through. So
I want you to share your experience as a continental African living in Europe. It's about personal experiences, because of course, definitely we know as a group or as a people, we know what our story is, but what is your personal experience living in Europe as a continental African?
Okay. Well, for one, when I started making friends from other groups like Jamaicans and other African countries, I began to realize that there were certain things put in there to divide us. Like, I remember one of my closest friends, the Jamaican guy, and apparently, the kind of history, the way they sold history to them, they sold it to them. Oh, it was the West Africans that sold you. And they do voodoo. So they had a fear of us. And at the same time, the way they sold us history of the Caribbeans, those guys, they're too aggressive. They're too thuggish. They're all gangsters. They drugs, weed, you could clearly see that our histories were divided. Even they didn't just divide us; they divided our history, sold us different lines to even keep us divided. But what I'm, living through all this now, I'm seeing that, the African diaspora. Yes, we're waking up. By no means, we haven't finished waking up. There's still a lot of waking up to do, and a lot of people to wake up. But we are waking up, and like I said, some of my closest friends are from the Caribbean. So a lot of those boundaries and false histories, we can now see through those things. But then, with regards to my history as an African, I mean, just because I started studying history early on myself, I could easily see all the propaganda on TV. But my experience of being a Black person over here is that, the propaganda they feed us, they've also fed it to themselves. What they call Eurocentric history, a history written from the eyes of the conquerors that makes them look like the heroes, even though regardless of what all the crimes they committed. So, I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of discussions with Europeans where, they'll come out with statements like, capitalism, yeah, it might not be the best system we have in the world today, but it is the best of all the evils. It's the least evil system.
I just wanted to round up quickly about your personal experience so that I can go to Washington Stanley.
Yeah. And And when I hear statements like that, like, "Oh, capitalism is the best system of government and economics humans have ever used," and I say to them, "Why do you say it's the best system?" I'm talking about Eurocentric history, as in how even Europeans themselves can, they're so locked into their Eurocentric view of the world, they can't see the things they do to other people. So, I say to them, "So why do you say capitalism is the best system?" And, a lot of the replies, always comes back, "Oh, because capitalism is the best system that has lifted most people out of poverty. It's created the best system of living for most of the people in the whole world." And I always disagree with them at that point.
Right.
I
So I'm going to go to
Okay.
Washington Stanley after acknowledging my
Yeah.
beloved sister, Synovia Ridley. Greetings, everyone, she says. And Opa Jeremiah Tefa says, the idea of Black History Month is rather obscure. If I hadn't joined this live video, I would not have known. Africans themselves aren't even serious with the idea of celebrating their history. Are they even proud of being Africans? That's where it starts. That's a very good point. Synovia says this is one of the most educated YouTube channels. Oh, yes. Thank you, Synovia. Anyway, as we carry on, really quickly, Washington Stanley, I do hope that your network will allow you to hear me when I do speak in real time. What has been your experience as a continental African living in Europe? I'm giving him time to respond because I think there's a delay. Washington Stanley, if you can hear me, what has been your experience as a continental African living in Europe? Oh, this is quite sad that he's in Europe and the network is messed up like this. This is so surprising, isn't it? All right, Starman, we'll just carry on until he's able to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, Big J escaped to the Dominican Republic. Blessing Starman Alpha, right?
Yeah, okay. That's my Jamaican friend I was talking about.
Okay.
We realized the propaganda sold to us. They sold
has to go
with different propagandas. Sorry.
Okay, Washington is talking now.
Yeah.
No.
Carry on. Oh, it's a shame he's not able to hear us in real time. Okay, Starman, really quickly, yeah. Let's carry on the conversation. Whenever he can respond, we'll just let him respond when he's able to hear him talk.
Okay.
So, yes, like what Opa said, makes a lot of sense, isn't it? My experience living in Europe, I would also share my one. My experience living in Europe has been fantastic. It's been challenging. It's been everything like you have in every society, yeah? If I had a choice to live in Europe or live on the continent of Africa, would I be in Europe? The answer would be, to a great extent, no, because who wants to have all that sun and all that life that we have on the continent of Africa and then want to be in a cold place? I remember having a conversation with an elderly English woman, and she said to me, "Where are you originally from?" And I said, "I'm Nigerian." She said, "And what are you doing here?" The reason she said so is, how can you have all that sun and choose to be in the cold? But you see, that's the reason we're having the conversation we're having today. The reason a great majority of us are in Europe is because we have failed to put our house in order back home. In most of the countries we come from on the continent of Africa has failed in providing. What's going on? Washington Stanley, we can hear you. Do you want to? Okay, I'm just going to take him off the screen. And where did Starman go to? Starman, where are you?
Here. I'm still here. Sorry.
Yeah, could you please put yourself back on stream? Yes. Okay, so Yes, it's true. It's like if we had a choice, we would be like the rest of the world who just wants to go to another person's country just because you want to explore, just because you want to go as a tourist. You want to go and spend your money, you want to see the world. But in our situation, 9 out of 10 times, it is a situation of running away from a nightmare environment that we find ourselves. Hence, the important discussion of today, how relevant, or what's the relevance of the African, what's African the history of African history in the month of October, basically. So, Starman, in all these years, they have celebrated this event every October. How significant has it been? Because, like you mentioned, your friend who is Jamaican has an idea of who you are or what you are because you're continental African, because they've been told that their brothers back home sold them out. And then we've been told a different kind of story. So from a very long time ago, we were at loggerheads with ourselves, even though we're family, even though we're brothers and sisters. And now we've come to this place where we're beginning to understand that it's not all the stories that we heard that was true, or, some of them have been misrepresented. So go ahead and share your story with you and your Jamaican friends.
Okay. But before I do, I just want to round up two things. The first is what I was saying earlier about, Europeans and their very Eurocentric view of the world and how they see the world and actually think that that's the best way the world should be and everybody's supposed to see it that way. And I was saying about, a lot of them, when I get into discussions with them, they say things like, oh, capitalism has done the best good for and lifted most people out of poverty in human history. And like I said, at that point, I disagree with them. Because for me, as an African, capitalism hasn't done anything for me.
Well, how would you explain the way Africans used to operate commercially to what we have now, capitalism, which you disagree with?
I can, in fact, let me just make a note. I can get to that. And so I try and debunk capitalism for them, because for me, as an African, who knows that his ancestors practiced a far superior economic system and political system, why should I roll over and accept capitalism? Because that's what's prevalent in the world today. The only reason capitalism dominates the world today is because capitalism went around the world pointing guns at everyone, robbing them, subjugating them with the gun, and today we've got capitalism.
So in your own words, define what capitalism is for us to understand.
Capitalism.
Yes.
Now, this is another. This is a lesson in Eurocentrism. Europeans have been sold this idea that capitalism is not just an economic system, but a political system. They've been sold this idea that capitalism and democracy are the same thing. They've been sold this idea that capitalism invented the free markets. They've also been sold this idea that only capitalism can provide any society with the competition to drive innovation. If you understand that these three things I've listed have nothing to do with capitalism, you understand. Then when I say what I think, when I tell you what capitalism really is, you understand that this is the biggest scam ever pulled on an entire planet.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us really quickly.
Okay. Now, capitalism has nothing to do with democracy. Democracy existed long before capitalism. Capitalism only started 300 years ago. The Greeks were democratic 2,500 years ago. The sub-Saharan Africans have been democratic for 90,000 years. The Aboriginal Australians have been democratic for 70,000 years. So capitalism, and when these societies were democratic, like the sub-Saharan Africans and the Australian Aborigines, They weren't practicing capitalism. Capitalism only started with the advent of the Industrial Revolution 300
Okay.
years ago. And then,
Okay. Okay. The reason why I want us to stay on the topic is because
yeah,
we can easily just go away and it becomes about capitalism all the way. Right. So, Washington Stanley, if your network will let you, could you please respond to the question I asked you before, which is share your experience with us as a continental African living in Europe? Oh my, I can't believe this. He can't hear me, or it's delayed or something. All right. See, when you want to talk
My
about
network is not.
we can hear you. So if you know what if you could
I'm
if you've heard the question, just respond to
my
it.
network, radio, broadcasting, and all these things.
Can you respond to the question, Washington Stanley? Okay. I really want to avoid going on for too long today. So
Hello?
yes, we can hear you. Okay, Washington Starman. Starman.
Yeah,
So we're talking about Black History Month, the relevance of Black History Month, how significant it is for us as continental Africans, and of course, how significant, what difference has it made all these years of Black History Month? During the month of Black History Month, what exactly do Africans stand to gain in this time that the entire world seem to recognize them and their history?
Okay, well, like I said earlier, one good thing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Black History Month. If anything, for people whose history has been decimated and controlled by others, if anything, at least it sparks some awareness, because a lot of us don't care about our history. It's something I was saying this to my sister and some of my friends the other day, and it's like we Nigerians, we so-called Nigerians, we all know why they took away history from our schools. We all know they didn't want us to know our history, because obviously we know they didn't want us to know our history because they wanted to control us. Fine. Okay, we all know this. Now you'll expect the average Nigerian, knowing this, to be on, or at least today, in today's world, you have the internet. You don't even have to go to a library anymore. You have the internet on your phone. There's all the PDFs online, all the books online, you couldn't finish reading in a lifetime. So you expect that the average Nigerian, knowing that his history was hidden from him and for a reason, you expect all of us online today looking for the truth for our history, but no.
But everything you find online was put in there by someone, and we're not in the habit of doing research and getting to the truth, or at least putting together what the truth is, what we know about our history, and putting it out there online. So even if you went online, it's more than likely that the history that you'll be finding, the materials that is available for you to know your history, would have been written by someone else.
Right. But some have been written by us, fellow Africans. There's some great scholars out there who've done their work. And if one of the projects I'm doing now, I want to put together a program how to help Africans understand what Eurocentric history is and to avoid the pitfalls of it. If you see now, to go looking and reading is a good start. There's nothing it doesn't mean that as soon as you start reading, you start knowing everything. No, understanding will come, understanding will follow. Start reading first. And when you start reading and you start understanding, the fact that your history has been twisted and it's been twisted along Eurocentric lines, like I said, understanding will follow. And in time, the truth will be revealed to you. It's like when I started studying history, I too fell into that trap of believing that, every human group throughout history has practiced slavery. I thought we were guilty. I thought we sold ourselves until one day, after reading so much material, one day I can't even remember how the idea came into my head, but I just decided to actually try and visualize, imagine how my people could have been kidnapping and selling each other. And I guess part of what helped me in doing that was because I'd read so much about Igbo culture and a lot of the other cultures around Nigeria at the time. That in a way I could, and also growing up in the village, and seeing the last remnants of that way of life dying out. So I could reconcile that with some of the things I'd read. And, with that, with, a mindset of what I've seen, trying to reconcile what I'm reading, after a while, you will you will encounter conflict, things that just don't rhyme. It's like when they said Arochukwu was responsible for selling Igbos, all the Igbos. Well, and I stumbled on, hold on, the Arochukwu Confederacy. When they were set up, slavery had been going on before them. So who was selling before them? And then with subsequent inquiry, research, I began to realize, wait, hold on. The Igbo society was an egalitarian society, no king. So if they had no kings, they had no army. And then I even found out they had no police, no prison. So how were they capturing the slaves? Who was capturing the slaves? And then you now find out that the greatest slave raiders, probably in African history, but let me say West African history, the Fulani were operating in the area. Then you begin to realize, okay. Like, what I started saying this because, we Nigerians, we all know our history was hidden from us, but okay, go and read, go and find out what is actually your history, so that you know what's going on. But
yeah, first of all, reading is something that that needs to become part of our culture. Then we can get to the point of even trying to look for the right things to read or research. And Sinovi Ridley says, can Starman Alpha finish his statement about capitalism? Really need to get a clear understanding. Thank you. So she doesn't like the fact that I stopped you. So I'm going to let you carry on and explain really quickly, Starman, please.
I mean, capitalism.
Your idea of capitalism and how you can compare that to how we operated commercially as Africans.
Capitalism affects us Black people. In fact, that is the main link in the chain on our necks. Capitalism. Right. I said there were three things Eurocentric history has sold to not just Europeans, but the whole world that capitalism actually is. And that is that capitalism is also democracy. Capitalism invented the free market, and capitalism creates the competition that drives innovation. But when you look properly, you realize these three things are just lies. Number one, like I explained earlier, democracy existed long before capitalism.
Yeah, you said that.
Number one. Number two, the free market was not invented by capitalism. If anything, in capitalism, especially the capitalism we have today, which is pretty much a corporatocracy, there is no free market. Today's what they call the free market today is the unfreest market in human history. This is the time of human history with the unfreest market ever. The freest market ever existed long ago in places like Igbo land, in places like South Africa with the Khoisan, in places like Aboriginal Australia, that was where you had the real, not even just free markets. Like I said on this show some time ago, they had trust markets. Trust. So this was even beyond free markets. And since then, things have just got progressively worse with the invention of capitalism. No market under capitalism is free. As long as the competing participants of that capitalist system are allowed to establish monopolies. Monopolies do not like free markets. And today, the world is ridden rife with monopolies everywhere.
Now, I want you to do something really quickly so that we can, put things a lot in a small package for us to understand really quickly. So let's say capitalism. Explain capitalism in the framework of slave and master.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to get to that actually, but let me just remember there were three pillars.
I don't want us to go on too long.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I'm trying to narrow your.
Now, a lot of times when I argue with Europeans, they always say, "Oh, but if there's no capitalism, nobody will have an incentive to innovate, invent anything new." And when they say this, I laugh. I'm like, so are you trying to tell me that before capitalism started, only 300 years ago, nobody invented anything? Nobody invented bow and arrow? Nobody invented the clay pot? Nobody did anything? Or everybody was just waiting for capitalism to come and suddenly everybody just felt the need to compete? So with this now, I hope you can see that these three things capitalism claims, it has no claim on them. Now, what is capitalism? Capitalism is the child of feudalism. What is feudalism? What's feudalism? Feudalism is the control of the land. That's why you have a king who seizes everybody's land and then starts allocating whatever. Now, with capitalism, what the capitalists did was they stretched that concept of land. Now, land is the capital. With land, then you can establish any other type of capital. Anywhere. But what capitalists did was they stretched the concept of land to include the means of production and the means of distribution. So where feudalism is control of control of the land, capitalism is the control of the means of production and distribution. And with that, to do this effectively, you now have to create companies, which are the most undemocratic institutions in a company with the CEO. Where's the democracy there? Now, how does this affect us as Africans? What did capitalism replace? Capitalism replaced a people who, yes, we did have free markets. And yeah, that's not to say we're capitalist, or that's not to say we're, but what it replaced was, now, let me use the Aboriginal Australians as an example. Now, these people, the Aborigines, lived on a desert continent. But from working together, their main interest was working together rather than individual personal profit. How much can I make for myself? From working together, they were able to produce a food surplus on a desert piece of land. Look at Australia today with their capitalism. There's homeless people there. There's poor people there. Capitalism creates inequality like no other system. The system we had in the past, there was, like I said before on this show, there was little or no inequality. There was no overtly rich people, but there was no poor people. So how does capitalism affect us? Capitalism has gone around the world, pointing guns at everyone, right? Want what you have. And there's this thing capitalism waves around, property rights. Property rights is their joker. That's once they want to claim something from you. Property rights, we want to buy that oil well, property rights. Before you know it, they own your copper mines, your oil wells, your diamond fields, gold field, everything. And this is why they are literally pointing the gun at everybody in the world. You must practice capitalism so that they can use property rights and take your shit and take everything you have. Because if you are practicing your Republican system, or like what the Aborigines, the egalitarian system, where the land is the Commonwealth, you won't let some foreign capitalist just come and buy your copper mine.
Mm.
You know, but because they want your copper mine, your oil rigs, capitalism, or else it will spark a war. Next thing you know, why do you think there's terrorists operating in Nigeria today? Because of Biafra. They are scared. These people will upturn capitalism.
Right. You know, Staman, I like to see your face a lot. You're so handsome, but you keep going away from the camera.
Sorry. I don't know.
Right. So, you know, when you explain capitalism the way you explain it, it brings to mind, I remember the book we read in school, Animal Farm.
Yes.
Some animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yes.
I remember that. It stayed with me forever.
Yes.
I couldn't really understand what that meant until I became an adult myself and began to understand what effectively what it meant.
Yes.
So from that concept of all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
No, there's this theory in capitalism called dependency theory.
Yeah.
Where you have certain capitalist countries, because when you look at all the countries in the world practicing capitalism, it's clearly not on an equal footing. So you have certain countries in the so-called capitalist game that are just up there. The rules are different for them. They don't have to appease to any of the other countries behind them. And then there's a second group of countries behind them whose job is to appease the ones up. They don't care about the ones below. And it's it's like Animal Farm. Some capitalists are more capitalist than others. You know, in fact, what we have is a charade. Like I said, it's just a ruse, a ploy to use property rights to loot us. That's all it is. I mean, look at
it feels as though from what you've explained, it feels as though it's a system that has been created for the strongest people and the smartest people only to survive. Yeah,
and look at how this same Eurocentrists today they look at Africa and say, Africa is corruption. Oh, why can't Africa just pull itself together? Oh, corruption. Meanwhile, their capitalism instituted all that, not the corruption. You know.
Mm. Right. So at the place where we're at today, if Africa was blessed to get to the point where they can decide their own fate, do you think that Africa will still operate capitalism, or what will be the African way or African concept of, driving commerce?
Now, you see, I mean, a lot of Africans today probably have bought into that narrative that capitalism is the best. And a lot of them don't know the history, don't even know how our ancestors lived. But if you were to educate every single African on the systems of government, politics, and economics we practiced in the past, I don't think any of them want to practice capitalism.
And what would then be the substitute for that?
It will be a kind of socialism, if you were to give it a name.
Washington Stanley, we haven't forgotten you. If you're able to respond at any point, please interject and respond, because I don't like the fact that we're not able to get your thoughts.
Yes, it's my network. My network is epileptic, and I'm trying to rectify it.
Right.
Sounds good now.
It sounds good now, so you can react to. You can respond to the last question I asked you.
Okay.
Which is, what has been your experience as a continental African living in Europe? Then we'll come back to Starman to finish his thoughts.
Okay, my experience as a continental African man living in Europe, it has been rough. It hasn't been rosy, and what I discovered is that The things are not the way we thought they are. Yeah. You know, we've been hearing that slave trade is dead and gone, but if you look deep down within the system, all across Europe, not just one place, you will see that the slavery is still going on. A black man or a black woman is not valued for anything. We are not. We are obviously not seen as human beings in this part of the world, but we are forced to be here due to the fact that where we are coming from is rubbish. Apart from that, there is no reason of being here because we are absolutely no human beings to the Westerners. They
If you
never.
could change, if you could change anything about, I'm not sure how long you've lived in Europe, but if you could change anything, one thing or anything from where you're coming from that would make you not want to be in Europe, what would that be?
Yeah.
If there's
If I
that one
should,
thing that you could do to change, the way the society back home is, that will then you that would then allow you to say that with that alone, I don't need to be in Europe. What would that be?
it's all about strong and efficient political structure. There is no other way to go about it. Any other way is it won't achieve anything. It's proper political structure with educated and intelligent men handling things. This way, Africa is a lovely place. We are, we are blessed with every kind of things, natural resources and others. But due to the political structure and the people governing us, we have been meant to be running here and there without. You end up being subjected to the kind of treatment you wouldn't wish. But you don't have an option because you are not in your place. But obviously, I mean, there's no. We are not accepted and we are not being respected, regardless of your level of education or anything. There's always behind the scene act against every black man or woman in Europe, and it's quite unfortunate. It's
The
not rosy.
political structure. I totally agree with you. If
Yes,
we had the blessings of having leaders who are actually Afrocentric, who have Africa at heart and have people, then we can begin to heal and restructure and develop, as opposed to the sort of people we find that we have all over the place. I'm going to bring Starman back to finish his thought, but let me just recognize Johnny Boy says, Professor James Small said, learn your history to erase the white man mystery. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And Free for Christ says, that's what I tell these agitators in Nigeria too. Political structure to effect the constitution, right? Yes, so quickly, Starman, I know I caught you short there, but I really wanted Washington to have a moment if his network will let him. So quickly carry on, finish your thoughts on it, and then we'll come to our final.
Now, as a black man in diaspora, I look around me and I see so many other black people in diaspora with me, and I'm like, why are we the only race that runs away from our own land? Why are we the only? Yes, there's white people in Africa, there's Chinese people in Africa, but they're on their own business.
Thank you.
You hardly get white people, Chinese people pack everything, pack their family, right? We're going to Africa. But then you get Africans going to every other country.
Yeah.
And it's because they want to survive most times.
And I also look around. We are the most put upon people on the planet. Racism. Everybody else is racist to us. Whites are racist to us. Chinese are racist to us. Indians are racist to us. Meanwhile, to be honest, we are not racist. We just seem to take it. So yeah, looking at all this, and asking all the whys, and realizing, okay, yeah, the reason why we're here, this guy, Shehu Kuti, he said it best. He said Nigeria, but I'm going to extend it to Africa because that's what, come on, that's what they did at the Berlin conference. They just created a massive slave complex, a massive concentration camp. Shehu Kuti said Nigeria, but I'll say Africa. Yeah. But in his words, Africa is a giant open air concentration camp.
Wow.
Exactly.
He said Nigeria. He said Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country in the world where you have the citizens trying to run away. Like, where if they will forge anything to get a visa, and if they can't, they will run through the border, risk Sahara, swim through the Mediterranean just to get away from Nigeria. And effectively Africa, because no Nigerians that do that mission across the Sahara. So effectively, Africa is only no other countries in the world. Do you have the citizens outside Africa doing anything, crossing Sahara, swimming Mediterranean just to run away? And the only places in the world where you get people trying to run away, even at the risk of their own life, is a concentration camp.
Exactly true.
That's why we're in diaspora today.
Yes.
Because of neo-colonialism, imperialism, and capitalism.
Yeah. As we round up, to help perhaps continental Africans who have never left. Yeah. As we round up, perhaps to help continental Africans who have never left the shores of Africa or even their locality. How would you explain living in the West to help demystify what the scale is around their eyes of how they perceive Europe, the West, what kind of life? Because what we need to also do is that there is a deceit going on where people on the continent, other than the fact that right now Nigeria is almost, it's a little dicey where we're not sure what's going to happen. Other than that, help generally Africans demystify the concept of a beautiful life in Europe. This is for both of you.
Do you want to go first, Washington?
I'll go first, Taman.
Yeah? Okay.
And I will come in. Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah, for Africans who want to come to Europe, especially if you're in a country like Nigeria, and any of those countries with those senile old warrant chief presidents who don't provide you with water, don't provide you electricity, no good road, no jobs. I mean, not just Nigeria, Uganda, with my actually, this guy is to me, he's actually a comedian. He's one of the funniest people alive, Museveni. The guy can he can lie. He can lie to the point where you just start laughing.
Oh, is that Museveni you're talking about?
Yeah. The yes. Ugandan president, Museveni. That guy, just makes me laugh. So to any other Africans from those countries who wants to run away, I understand. Being out here in Europe, there's nothing quite like you wake up and before you start thinking about what you have to do to better your life, like in Nigeria, and when I lived in Nigeria, I wake up, before I think of bettering my life, I'll first think, oh, is there light? Is there electricity? Oh, no, there's no electricity. Oh, God, okay. Do I have petrol for the generator? And is there engine oil? Oh, and is there, is the water running? And is it clean? And okay, I need to go here. Oh, is there traffic? All those headaches, yes, you don't get them out here. But apart from that, that's it. I described this once. I described this once to a friend of mine. I said, out here in the West, you get security. Yeah, you get your electricity. Electricity doesn't even go off. Water, security, everything, but not the freedom is an illusion. No real freedom. In Nigeria, yes. And as a result, because there's no real freedom, see, anybody that comes out here, to any African that's experienced life in Africa, especially as a younger, up to the point of a young adult, and then you come out here to live, I give you 10, 15 years, you will get depressed. 10, 15 years, you will get depressed to the point of wanting to move back. The freedom here is an illusion.
Yes.
Out here, the security comes with depression. Now, in Nigeria, yes, you have real freedom. It's your fatherland. It's your father's land. Apart from now that these Fulani are doing, whatever it is, they are doing. But other than that, it's your father's land. You couldn't be freer. But because we live under imperialism, neo-colonialism, and all that nonsense, and with their agents, the Fulani, like I mentioned, now causing chaos, there's no real security. So as a result, you live, while out here, you live every day in a depression. In Nigeria and places like that, you live every day in a frustration. So, like I said, out here, apart from the lights, internet, water, there's nothing else. Yeah, you might get a good job, but actually, you'll be 10 years, 20 years in that job. They will not promote you above white people, especially when it's a critical industry.
Wow.
So,
Washington Stanley, take it from there. But before you carry on, Free for Christ and Water says, in diaspora, you can walk according to time and be hopeful of benefiting from your experiences acquired. And Johnny Boy says, every real human leader in Africa has been assassinated, and still we are sitting back and looking. Melanated people around the world, please let's stop being cowards.
Yeah.
And Washington Stanley, please go ahead and help demystify the West for continental Africans who have never left.
Yes, like myself, like Starman said, a vibrant young man from Africa, by the time you live here 10, 15 years, you'll be depressed and you stroke. Because this system, what you see is not the real thing. I mean, like a professional, we must demystify Europe. We must demystify Europe. It's not all this hula hula, it's all good, it's all rosy. It's not rosy. A black man, hardly can you get a good job. Hardly can you get a good. The only job you can get, if you check our brothers, they are all lavishing in factories. These are graduates. What experience are they getting from these factories? Their life is being invariably ruined. And I mean, it's time we started. I mean, we are here already, but now it's time we start changing things. Because if you check a black man or woman who has lived in Europe for years and retired, go and ask him about his pension. He or she must be fighting for it. What's come to worst, he get 30% of it. He can't get more. So there's a lot of things we need to start educating people back home. Stop risking your life because it doesn't worth it. It doesn't worth it. There's security, fine. There is security when it comes to Europeans. A black man can be killed today now on the street and nobody cares. How they tell you at the investigation, but it ends like that.
Especially in places like China, America.
I mean, we are not safe. And the earlier we start educating our people, stay back home, however it is, what is here is not real. It's all fakery.
I have seen here in London, I have seen very well educated people leave Nigeria or leave Ghana as doctors, as lawyers, as engineers, fully certified, come here and work as carers, as
Thank you.
laborers, as cleaners.
Laborers. Yeah, this is pathetic. It's disturbing. When I look
Sama,
at
carry
this,
on.
No,
it's
let
disturbing.
Washington finish. Let Washington finish.
So it's disturbing. It's highly disturbing, and something. I mean, yeah, the money is good. I mean, but when you're sacrificing your life and your dignity, I mean, it doesn't want it. It doesn't want it. It doesn't. Whatever is holding our country back, now we have strength. We have to go and rectify it. Than staying here and years, things never change, and we are not being respected. An average black man has no respect in Europe. I can tell you this.
Now, some people will think, well, yeah, if you work hard, study hard, maybe why can't you get a good job? Come on.
No.
Like every black person here can get a good job. Come on, really. And just because maybe you studied engineering, for example, and just because you made it here to Europe and managed to get some job, maybe in an IT company, and they are paying you, I don't know, 38K, 37K per annum, and you're happy jumping, because that's actually a decent, paycheck. Jumping on top of the world, thinking, now I've landed, because what a lot of black people in diaspora in good jobs don't realize is that if Africa was actually good, working and functioning, instead of you being out here in diaspora doing some odd 9-to-5 job, probably not in the field you studied, as that engineer, you'll be on your land, probably with your own company. With your own company, your own business. Not working for anybody. And if you were working for someone, probably linked to a government that works, or, solid indigenous companies.
Right.
That's what a lot of people don't realize. We're out here in the diaspora. You see, I'll give an example. It's like, I'll give an example of, Africa has been going through a 400-year brain drain. First of all, during slavery, 250 years, they came. Who did they kidnap to make slaves? The youngest, healthiest, and brightest of us. Come on, you're not going to kidnap an old man or a baby to become a slave. You're going to kidnap the healthy, young, strong ones, which in itself is a brain drain, because when you kidnap them, who's left? The old people, the babies. Right. After that, they came in with colonialism, where they used us to mine our own resources for them. After colonialism, they instituted imperialism, which is why we're all now running to diaspora. I mean, you have to ask yourself, and this to show you that this is another brain drain. Why is it that Africa, we have all these professors, but they can't even invent anything? They can't even come up with a theory. But as soon as they go into the diaspora, they become recognized for something.
Yeah.
It is a brain drain. Their brain doesn't work in Africa, but it works outside. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
To be honest, I think it's actually it's not exactly their brain doesn't work in Africa. It's a fact that their brain works in Africa. There is lack of motivation when they're back home because they don't have the resources to carry out research. They don't have the facilities to carry out research. They're not encouraged by their governments, who are 9 out of 10 times stooges for bigger powers outside the continent of Africa.
Yeah, and all this stuff can shut down your brain. And that's not to say that it's not deliberate. I mean, it's by design.
Yes.
It's by design. There's people that don't want African brains to work, especially when they're in Africa. Because if the brain is working in Africa for Africa, it's not contributing to them. I was going to mention somebody. There's this, I'm sure you know this guy, Dr. Philip Emeagwali.
Philip Emeagwali, yes, the mathematician.
Yes. Now, this guy was involved in the coming up with the theories that allowed parallel computing to be possible. Before him, all the computer scientists around the world in the 80s said parallel computing was impossible. So someone came up with the idea. Well, a lot of them decided, it's not possible, it can't happen. It's just, probably because they were limited by the technology they saw in that time.
Mm.
And after a while, generally scientists just dismissed the parallel computing as a pipe dream. No one took it seriously. But this Philip Emeagwali guy took it seriously. And it's because of him we have supercomputers today. Now, can you imagine if Biafra broke away from Nigeria and that part of the south, because northern Nigeria, those guys are part of the European agenda. Can you imagine if Biafra broke away from Nigeria and those people became truly free? Because they would have been the first truly independent black nation. But come on, the Europeans weren't going to have that. Britain wasn't having it. I mean, come on, even what's his name? That stupid ex-prime minister, he's dead now. He said it. They weren't having another Japan in Africa. If Biafra had become truly independent, this Philip Emeagwali would not have left Biafra to go and do the research in America. He would have probably done that research in Biafra. And guess what? Biafra would have probably been the first country on the planet with a supercomputer. This would have just changed the whole game. Everything would have just been different.
Now, then we would have had something that we bring to the table that make them respect us.
Yes. Yes.
Suddenly, and control certain things too, because we bring something to the table.
Suddenly, with a supercomputer at that time and nobody else having it at that time, it would have rendered all aircraft carriers obsolete. All jet fighters, probably even all the nukes, obsolete. That's a far stretch with the nukes, because a nuke is very analog, point and kill.
I know, Starman, if I allow you, we're not going to leave here today. So I'm just going to, that's why every time I want to bring Starman, I want him to be on his own, because Starman will take forever. I'll quickly take reads and I'll get your final thoughts. Johnny Boy says, okay, I've taken that. There's Kwame who says, peace. I humbly ask if this is just about continental Africans. The reason why I am deliberate about continental Africans is because the Black people in other parts of the world, even though we share the same fate, the same destiny in many ways, but at least they've lived in developed societies. So they might not fully understand the where we're trying to come from.
They don't have that difference, that contrast.
Yes. So it's not about just continental Africans, but what we're talking about today. Only continental Africans will be able to bring together, contrast, and compare basically life as Africans and Africans who live in the diaspora, living back home and living here. So that's what it's about. And Johnny Boy says, truth is unbelievable. Absolutely. When sometimes truth becomes stranger than fiction, it can be almost perceived to be that way. And Sanovia really said something that I want to quickly take a read. She said, I was born in the West, and to me, Africa is my freedom. No place is perfect, but Mother Africa is perfect enough for me. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Like, I will just say to you, I'm continental African. I'm living here, and there is hardly a day I wake up and I wish, oh my God, my life in Nigeria. Not because there is not because there is any particular thing that I lack, but what do I lack? I lack that thing that I had back home, which is family. At any point, family was there. At any point, I have a young child, and I am struggling to want to experience my working life in certain ways, because I then have to think of who is going to help. The African thing of just having family around to just take on your child. And these are the things. It's a big deal.
Even just, can you imagine missing a sunny day? You're out here in the West, and you just miss a sunny day with real blue sky.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, That's absolutely correct. Olarewaju Abraham says part of the issues Nigerians and in general Africans have in diaspora is lack of unity among ourselves. That's not the issue with other nationalities, which is absolutely correct. You know, one of the things that we
Yes.
suffer is this thing where even to the as irrelevant as it is very important, but as insignificant as it could have been, the fight between Nigeria and Ghana jollof rice could just be something that becomes a major issue. Why a Ghanaian will see a Nigerian and not be happy, or a Nigerian, it's just so crazy. Like no other nationalities go doing hating on themselves for petty reasons. You know, these are things that we just need to. I don't understand where this witchcraft is coming from, because this is some level of witchcraft that just won't let us be.
Yeah, the pettiness that blows out of proportion and we start fighting each other is because we don't know our history. If we
Yes.
really knew our history, it's just like how they divided the Igbos, said, oh, this one's a Niger Delta and this one's a Igbos,
Right. I'm going to take a few more reads and I'll let you guys give your final thoughts for the day. Free for Christ also says, however, the segregation against we blacks is amazing. Only by divine grace do we equate or excel than Europeans. They no go gree. That's pidgin, Nigerian pidgin. And
They're not going great through.
I mean, who has all of this and want to just let go just like that? It has to be something that is taken.
Yeah.
You know, who I mean,
oh,
if I went into what I want to say now, we're going to be here again for another hour. And okay, I think I've explained that about continental Africans. Kwame. All right. Sinovia Ridley, thank you for responding to Kwame. She's helped me explain what it's about today. There is to achieve unified progress in Nigeria, we need to be recognized, repair your house. As Sinovia Ridley says, we are getting their opinions about the West. Absolutely. Okay. So really quickly, my two brothers, your final thoughts, bearing in mind that you're communicating to continental Africans.
Should I go first?
Go first, because Washington is waiting for you to go.
Well, my final thoughts. I said once on one of our broadcasts that Africans were going extinct, as in black people in general, because the capitalist system is squeezing us. You know that statement, George Floyd, when you went, I can't breathe. That's how it is for us as a group. We're being squeezed. And the people we're telling, oh, we can't breathe. Their systems are so instituted. They can't see another way of, they don't even want to turn it around because they're worried about, they don't know what to expect if they try and turn it around. So the way they see it is, well, if you guys die, so be it. Or because if not you, we would have died. And if we die out, that's how they'll reconcile it and life will carry on for them. We need to wake up. Do you know what? Where there's about, if you add Brazil, the Americas, there's about, and just sub-Saharan Africans, black people, real black people, there's about 1.5 billion black people on the planet. And the capitalists that are doing all this to us, they're not that many. They are not up to 100,000. They are the real problem. It's just that they use the rest of their race, the rest of their racial group as an army to protect them, especially by feeding them Eurocentric history. So your average European who's never benefited from capitalism much himself would defend capitalism staunchly. Oh, it's pulled us out from poverty. Meanwhile, He doesn't even have capital, because I keep telling them, look, because capitalism is all about capital to control production and distribution. If you do not have capital, you are not a capitalist. You
That's
are
right.
a victim of capitalism.
And
But
many people don't have capital, but they practice capitalism.
exactly. And many of them struggle to understand this. So, and like I said, we are 1.5 billion people being squeezed by about 100,000 people, supported by another 1 billion of their ethnic group, complicitly.
Mm.
Whether they like it or not, as long as they keep rooting for capitalism, voting in the people that uphold capitalism, they are squeezing on us.
Right.
Now,
Watching.
The problem is, we, even though we're more than them, why they're succeeding is because we're not organized. And for us to be organized, we don't even need every single 1.5 billion of us to. All we need is 1 million people to wake up. 1 million people wake up, the right mindset, the same agenda to emancipate Africans for real, and we'll get the job done.
Right. Just like Professor Pielo Lumumba says, to stop agonizing and begin to organize. That's what we need to do.
Exactly.
Yes. Washington Stanley, really quickly.
Yes.
Final thoughts.
Yes, Africans, we have suffered a lot. And I think what we need, especially we in the West, is unity. We carry ourselves. Because when we get it right here, then we can go back home, or we can stop this movement of brain drain. Our youth are getting lost in the desert. But if we unite here, maybe 100 people can come and say, okay, we go and build this factory today in so and so place and employ people. That is unity. But here, there's nothing we can do because we are not united. Everybody is running on his own parallel road, and at the end of the day, what is chasing us is still chasing us. We are heading to nowhere. What we need now is absolute unity, especially in the West. Back home, we can't talk about it because we are being held hostage by some group of people. But if we are here, we are opportune to be here. We see how things work. If we unite here, we go home with a positive force, and we create a very big impact.
Absolutely. I agree with you. The secret of us conquering, coming out on top, is in our unity. Because if you realize what is going on with the takeover of the continent by the Asians, by the West have come, now the Chinese are there. It's because these people have the power, the capitalists, they have the money to invest. If, as continental Africans, we came here on a fair playing ground and we're able to mobilize in one voice, we should be able to go back home and take care of those developmental, or those kind of investments that these Chinese and these people come in the name of investors, of course, but then they come with an ulterior motive, where they come and suddenly, even on our land, we are almost seen as second class citizens because they are treated as little gods, So it's all dependent on our unity as Africans, even in the diaspora, to be able to come together to understand the way the game is played. And it's about the money. It's about who owns and controls the capital. And Starman, I can see you want to quickly say something.
Yeah,
you can quickly take it, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add to what Washington was saying, and in a way, I wasn't ready to kind of talk about this because there are a few other things I felt I needed to talk about first, like proper programs, and before I get to this. But I think the Africans in diaspora, we need to create some kind of new concept. I call it a diaspora country, a diaspora nation. We need to create something while we're all in diaspora, create something that functions like a nation. And then with that entity, because I tell you this, the rescuing of Africa is in our hands. The people in Africa, come on, there's guns. Museveni is pointing guns at them in Uganda. Buhari is pointing guns at us in Nigeria. The people in Africa can't do much. They will be instrumental. In fact, they are doing a lot now because they're the ones dying. So me saying they can't do much, I'm sorry. That's an understatement. They are the ones dying right now. They are doing a lot. But the critical action will be down to us. If we create something that functions like a country from the diaspora, believe me, we can do anything. And there's a lot of things we need to do. Can you imagine if we created such an entity and had our own blockchain technology? We had our own arms manufacturing. We had our own army. Believe you me, when all these senile old African presidents around today start seeing the danger, or we set an example with one of them, things will, like a domino effect, things will change. We are going to fight our way back in to rescue Africa. Because if you are waiting for things to change, you really think voting, elections? Did you just see what Buhari has been doing elections, or even Museveni did in the last election with Bobby Wine? What we really think voting is going to change it?
Absolutely not. That's like a script that is already written out, and they just allow us to come in, deceive ourselves, like look like we're actually voting when we're not.
Sign for a re-enslavement.
Washington Stanley, do you have anything to add? Because I really want to call it a day now.
Yes. What I want to add is if our youths can turn back and start looking in the direction of sports and the personal development, and get away from all this fraudulent internet crime that lead them to nowhere. Because when they go into sports, with sport, a black man can rise so fast with sport more than any other thing, and that is the only way Westerners still live for black people. It's only in sport, and we have a lot of energy. We have
Washington Stanley, because of what you said, I'm going to say last week the guest I had, the only guest I had, because I couldn't have the second guest, was when I asked certain questions. Because I'm a Nigerian, I could really understand where he was coming from, but I refused to give, at that time, space for him to go on about it the way he wanted to go on about it. Why? Because personally, I've experienced that in the past year or so, there are a group of people who have been trying to defraud me. They are bent on it, because it doesn't matter how many times they call my phone, and the phishing messages they send, or sometimes even the vishing ones. The truth is, these are not Nigerians. These are not black people. They are Indians, they are Pakistanis, or they're Asians.
Yeah.
Why did I refuse to go down talking about it? Not because I'm encouraging anybody to go into promoting fraud, or is the fact that we're not the worst people. We're not the only ones who do internet fraud. We're not the only ones who commit a crime in the West, or anywhere for that matter. But because the media has made us to look as though we're the only ones doing it. India has how many people? Over 1 billion people in India. Nigeria is, if for argument's sake, we're 200 million people. Majority of those 200 million people are not fraudulent people. They're not into. So we need to also understand that even the media propaganda has made us believe that us as Nigerians are fraudsters, and we're not. There are a few bad eggs who are doing all these bad things, but the reason why it is made to look so big is because that is what the media projects.
Yes, excuse me.
If the media was on the Indians and the Pakistanis and all these other people from other countries who are into fraud, as much as they did for Nigerians, then we will understand that it is not a unique trait for Nigerians, regardless of the difficulties and the challenges we have as Africans or as Nigerians, but that it's a universal thing. But it's just to correct that thing of us putting this thing on ourselves of being an ambassador, a good ambassador. Yes, I am a good ambassador of my country and my race, because I try to do everything, not even try, it's the way that we were raised, okay? But there are people, regardless of anything, criminality and all these things sometimes are innate. It doesn't matter how you are brought up. Sometimes it's just a person's personality, you know? So we have scammers who are from every ethnicity, and some of them are causing more havoc than Nigerians and Africans. But because the media,
crypto scammers are Asians and Indians.
The media shies away from putting them in the forefront, and only when it comes to Nigerians, they make it look big, like we're the only ones doing it. And that's something we need to start to control. That's the narrative we need to start to control.
Exactly.
Having said that, please, you guys, feel free to close the show today. Really quickly, I just want to say, sorry, Starman, I just want to say a very big thank you to all those who have donated to Isabella's fundraising. 3 weeks ago, we had her dad and her on this program, and as at this moment, her father has sent to me that we're just shy of 700,000 naira. We've done very well, because this platform is not even as big as many other platforms. And if through this platform we could get people, good-minded human beings, to donate to Isabella's treatment, thank you so very much. Keep it coming. For those of you who have not contributed or donated, please feel free to go on to their GoFundMe account, which is you can find the Isabella episode on our YouTube channel and Facebook. Please go ahead, whatever, no matter how small, please make a donation so that in the nearest future we can bring Isabella here and watch her here and speak. And then, of course, we will be happy for it. So yes, gentlemen.
Yeah, the narrative that we're fraudsters. And Nigerians fraudsters. Hey, come on, that painting the dog black, I'll be giving the dog a bad name before you hang it. It's not new. It's like they always used to make movies, and the black guys were always criminals, always thieves.
Yeah, you could always tell at that time who was going to get killed.
To the point where you meet Europeans, especially Europeans that were meeting black people for the first time, and they'll be telling you, I had the impression that you guys were all thieves. In fact, one of them, there's this one friend of mine I always have, discussions with. And it was like, let him not lie, that in this country, most people think black people are thieves.
Yeah.
Because that's what... and when he said that, I was like, yeah, I know. From the movies, right?
Yes.
Because of the movies and, just propaganda. Books.
I'll tell you a joke that might not be so much of a joke for some Americans. A very long time ago, I met this German guy, and he made a joke. And the American he made the joke to didn't find it funny. So there was this journalist from Washington Post sitting here, and this German guy who works for Julius Berger in Nigeria on this side. And I can't remember what started the joke, but it went on like this, where the German guy, his English wasn't so good, but then he came on to the guy from the American guy, white American guy, and said, "Oh, I heard you caught Osama bin Laden." And then the guy looks at him like this, like, a little perplexed, like, when did that happen? Because at that time, they hadn't caught bin Laden. And then the German guy laughs and says, ha, 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 in the movies, yeah? In the movies, he caught bin Laden. Why? Because in American movies, it would have been right here, right now, the miracle, the magic happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're made to believe that America was a wonder maker, a miracle worker. Anything, once America is involved, can be, taken care of. Yeah. But is that actually the truth?
Hollywood is another giant propaganda machine.
Okay,
See, if you make a news, if you make a press statement about killing bin Laden, some people will hear, but not all Americans. But if you make a movie that you've killed bin Laden, then most Americans will hear. Most Americans watch movies.
This is just to explain how media propaganda takes control of our mind and narrative and what we believe and how we see and perceive the world. So I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone who joined us today. Sanovia Ridley says the scammers are the other races. They are the worst. I get phone calls from them all the time. Yeah. And free for crisis, Niger, a federal state and unitary constitution. Wait they dear, something like that. It's pidgin. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Washington Sterling, my beloved brother. Thank you, Starman, my fantastic brother. I cannot wait. Washington Sterling, the next time we invite you here, because I know you have a lot to share, please make sure that you're using the good network that allowed you to speak towards the end so that we can have more.
What happened was that I was actually trying to use my phone, but so I discovered that it's not working. So I quickly switched to computer. My network is perfect. Next time.
Oh, okay, it's perfect. So next time you use the Wi-Fi instead of the data. I suppose that's what happened.
Yes.
Right. All right, guys.
I'm sorry for the.
No, you don't have to be sorry. We're actually we just missed not having so much of your thoughts as we would have loved to. As for Starman, I like to bring him on when only him is here because Starman needs 24 hours to say everything on his chest.
Someone is great. It's always great. It's always great. I like.
All right.
Nice
catch you on the other side.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care, Susan.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone who joined us. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Africa Rise TV on YouTube. It is Africa Rise TV on Facebook. Like and follow us on Facebook and Africa_Rise.tv on Instagram. I love you all. And like I said, I'm trying so hard to make sure that we're at least broadcasting once a week like we used to do. So far, so good. We've done good. Yes, I hope to see you again next weekend, God willing. I love you. Take care. God bless you. And if you haven't donated to Isabella's account, please do so. 1,000 Naira is not too much. $2, $1, £1, £2 will go a long way in making sure that we get to help little Isabel begin to hear and then learn to speak. God bless you. Bye-bye. See you next weekend.